Kumbaga, mapatungan siya ng isa pang unresolved conflict and then another one comes, and another one comes. Yung hinayaan nyo, nandyan lang yan. Yeah, so, mahirap nga siya makalimutan. And then, a time will come, dahil there are too many unresolved conflicts, bigla na lang tayong sasabog. Bakit nga ba hindi natin makalimutan yung mga sakit or yung mga hurt inside a marriage relationship? Ito yung nagiging trend sa ngayon. Fights or issues between husband and wife. Maybe because in the past, you have not talked about it, hindi kayo nag-discuss. Things are not clear to you. Hopefully that this triggers you not to fight continuously, but this triggers you to be able to realize na kayo ay mag-process together as husband and wife dahil nahihirapan nga kayong pag-usapan itong mga bagay na ito. Kung merong isang party that hindi nakikinig, sabay ninyong pakinggan itong ating episode na ito.
For our topic, reasons why we can't forget the hurt inside a marriage relationship. Of course, from Happy Spouse, Happy House, that why not talk about these kinds of topics? Because it's not perfect. Inside the marriage relationship, you have deep emotional impact. When we experience hurt, it often cuts deep because it comes from someone we so love dearly and of course we trusted. This deep emotional impact makes it harder or simply to move forward. Sometimes we do not know what to do without addressing the underlying feelings. But we cannot stay there and wallow in our misery or in the things that we are feeling at the moment for a certain challenge in our lives, especially our marriages. But let's also validate that perhaps this is something that's beyond us and we do not know where to pick up the pieces. So this is what you call deep emotional impact.
We understand that yung pagkabanggit natin ng moving on, it has two sides at least. Yung moving on na, sige, number one, para may masabi mo lang na let's move on. Pero moving on without addressing or without discussing will always resurface. Laging mangyayari yan because walang pinagtapusan, pinagtatalunan, o yung pinag-aawayan, o yung pinag-uusapan ninyo for the longest time. Or the moving on, it's just not everyone will be able to understand what it really means. Yung pag-move on. But all of us, we desire to move on, move forward with the heart of mag-restore tayo. Pag-usapan natin.
So besides having deep emotional impact, that's why you can't forget the hurt, unresolved conflicts.
Kasi hindi tayo sanay eh. Let's put it this way. Hindi natin alam kung if cultural thing, Pinoy thing ba ito about us na hindi tayo talaga sanay na mag-apologize. Ito ba isang hindi kasama sa core values natin, di ba? O kung meron nga ba tayong core values in our marriage, in our family. One of it is asking for forgiveness, apologizing. Or kung man, hindi siya sincerely given. Kung hinayaan nyo, nandyan lang yan. Yeah, so mahirap nga siya makalimutan.
No wonder you have deep hurts because you do not know where it started and you do not know what to do.
Another thing that also caused by hindi ka makapagpatawad ng mga hurts inside the marriage is when there is broken trust. When trust is broken, whether through infidelity, naging unfaithful, di ba? Dishonest, or may mga betrayals, these are all the same. The hurt that is caused can create long-lasting scars that are hard to heal. Since may hope po tayo, we have that hope that comes from the Lord. The Lord grants us hope. He gives us the grace for us to go through these things.
And we also have to understand that husbands and wives, we have different kinds of characteristics on how to resolve things in our hearts. And sometimes one spouse would, easily forget the feelings of hurt and then can easily move forward. But the other one is not. Those things, why sometimes the hurt lingers and at the same time, you do not know what to do. That's why let's continue also to have this kinds of discussion. And another reason for us, we can move forward is let's start to communicate things. When things are not communicated, communication bogs down. When we do not talk about things, talk therapy helps. Yung sinasabi nila na yung sama ng loob ko, tapos nung nailabas ko na, I felt better. So, because this is an emotion, you need to really verbally talk it out, and it has to be communicated, especially if your spouse has no clue that he or she was able to hurt you. When spouses don't openly express their feelings, there's poor communication, and then misunderstandings can arise, leads to building up again unresolved emotions, thus unresolved conflicts. So it is very important important, just like trust. You build that, you exercise the muscle of communication. You can start small, especially if you're listening and there's been really a ton of hurt inside your heart. One, you pray to God. The Lord will be the one to take that out. And then, of course, it's important that you are going to be very honest with the feelings that you have, the emotions that lingers. Especially when your spouse is asking, di ba, minsan po tinatanong tayo, nasaktan ba kita? And then sometimes you just say, hindi, okay na ako. Pero deep inside you, you're not okay. So it has to be communicated.
The next one is pagka merong recurring patterns. Hurtful behaviors are repeated and repeated and repeated over time. Nare-reinforce yung pain, even makes it harder to forget. Kasi nga, it's not communicated, we don't talk about it, we just ignore it, thinking na pagka pinalipas natin to overnight or maybe over a week or a month, matatapos na yan. So, isa pa, kung hurtful behaviors, it has to be said. Oo, may mga bagay, di ba, o pagkakataon wherein hindi ko kasi masabi. Dahil kung hindi, pag sinabi ko, lagi lang ako na shut off or sinasabihan na mag-shut up. So, paano nga yun, di ba? Kaya lang, then again, it is not communicated, not addressed. It will create a cycle of hurt that is difficult to break.
Or sometimes they say naman, love, na hindi ako ready, o kaya, hindi, sa akin wala na yun, let's not talk about it, I'm fine with that. Perhaps you, but what about your spouse? So it has to be agreed. You should be in this together, that it's being communicated well. So another one, yung mga tinatawag nila na emotional triggers. Are you aware that we all have this? It usually starts with a blinking yellow light before it gets red. Emotional triggers are situations or words, perhaps actions, no? It can be action of your spouse or maybe a trigger of memory of past hurts. Yung, like for example, this has happened 10 years back, 15 years back, or maybe this year or last year. It brings back that situation. This can be in the form of a song or maybe a comment from a friend, or maybe you're watching something, then there it triggers you emotionally. And then in your mind, even if we're not thinking about it, parang it reminded me of this one. That's the time that my spouse hurt me the most. Let's watch out for these things, emotional triggers, no? And then you feel that it was just like so fresh, it resurfaces, and then parang yun na, it starts again, na nag-aaway na kayo ulit. So yung mga ganun, emotional triggers, these are valid.
What's next, di ba? What do we need to do? So this is what you need to tell yourselves for the solutions. Let's talk. Mag-usap kayo to be open. You need to say things kung ano yung totoo. Huwag na nating paikot-ikutin pa. Question, sasabihin, paano nga yun? Hindi nga siya nakikinig,
or hindi siya nagsasalita.
For every couple who's going through a tough time, na God will open up your hearts, will open up your minds, and will cause both of you to be able to be open about this communication. Pag-uusap ninyo, yung meeting na yan, however, wherever, whenever, that it will happen.
And then you can also add in finding a solution. So what are we to do? You can now start to rebuild the trust. Rebuilding trust takes time, and it has to be an agreement from both parties, the husband and the wife. Let's start to rebuild trust little by little, and then be consistent in your actions. You can start with forgiveness. You accept that forgiveness. You start to restore that time over time. Start to rebuild that. Start to acknowledge that not just only the other one, but tayong dalawa to, and then be consistent with your action.
So those two things are very important. The last one, we always say this, we always mention this. For you to seek help. Dito sa Happy Spouse, Happy House, we're starting to have that program for you as marriage coaches. We will be able to assess, to evaluate, and to be able to help you. Kung first time yung naririnig ito, at first time yung malalaman that yes, Happy Spouse, Happy House has that online program, DM us, and we can send you the link kung paano kayo makaka-avail nitong counseling or yung coaching para sa inyong mag-asawa. Lagi niyo lang pong tatandaan na ang bawat pamilya, ang bawat mag-asawa ay may pag-asa. We will hold on to is the hope that only God provides through our Lord Jesus Christ.